Yeah, but you know, like you know, you're probably just presuming all of this because you're so creative and it's your work, you're so close to it. But you know, sort of, you know, as a lifelong comic book fan, I can kind of point out to you, you know, one of the things that you did so flawlessly in this and sort of seamlessly is, you know, the original Hulk in that original 6 issues that was published was not the Hulk that later on, you know, got brought back into continuity and sort of workshopped into the Hulk that
Yeah.
everyone seems to know, or even the one that you would recognize from the cinematic universe. But you know, then past that in the 80s, you know, the Hulk was, you know, you talk about, you know, it's the Professor Banner version where it's like all intelligence, or the Mr. Fix-It version where he's gray and he's
Yeah.
mean and he's more like a mob enforcer. And so this is a character, you know, Spider-Man hasn't been through those iterations, Superman hasn't been through it, Batman hasn't,
Yeah.
you know, these characters, the Hulk has been through so many different variations. And sort of what is the version? I mean, I guess we could all agree that
Yeah.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe version is the version, but you know,
I mean, this,
but you didn't do any of that. You walked away from all of that. You did something completely different. And
I mean,
and I don't mean on a continuity basis. I mean like a just your creative take, where you were willing to walk away and not go, you know, we need to go back and do Peter David's version, or we need to go back and do Al Milgram's version, or we need to go back and do Herb Trimpe and Lynn Weem's version, or like, you know, there's so many different creative teams and pairings that have done incredible work with that character, or even Stan and Jack. You know, it's like you sort of walked away from all of it and iterated a new version and did it from the ground up, instead of like in issue 8 you launched with it. You know, and so that's just such a creative accomplishment, and I think will always be embedded as a part of this character, no matter where they take the character moving on.
I mean, yeah. Thank you, and I hope so. I hope this does sort of leave a mark. Um, in terms of the Hulk having all of these different iterations, I feel like that is something I kind of took into account in that I found it like, I mean, there was a kind of thing early on where people are going, oh, it's going to be Bruce Banner going from small town to small town,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's all it's going to be, and it's going to be like, oh, now I know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be this forever.
Do I want 40 issues of small towns? Yeah.
Yeah, whereas I mean, the run is constantly in flux,
Mm-hmm.
and part of that is sort of inspired by the original 6 issues, which are just constantly like bouncing all over the place. But also the whole as a whole, there's, I mean, I went back, um, and I've sort of fallen off this, but this is probably a good week to get back into it. Actually, I should probably like section off a piece of Friday to go back and continue my massive reread of the Hulk and like clipping out little panels and putting them on my Tumblr. Uh,
Wow. I gotta go check your Tumblr out. When you say you're
oh no,
massive, you
yeah,
mean the whole thing? You're
it's
like reading
nothing.
from the, wow.
It's nothing but Hulk panels, and it's reading from the start, and it's
Wow.
like, and it's basically, and the idea was that I had an idea of like what I wanted to kind of the themes I wanted to explore.
Mm,
So like, there's little hashtags like, yeah, anytime I see like a sort of a Hulk and Bruce are the same person moment, or like a Bruce
mm,
Banner is not a very good person moment, or like,
mm,
or anything that sort of speaks to me about,
mhm,
I'll sort of, clip that panel out and like do a little commentary just all in the tags. And
mm,
but it's one of the things I noticed doing that on this massive reread is that we think of the Hulk like a classic Hulk as
mhm,
like, he's Bruce Banner. He turns into the Hulk. He turns green. He speaks in a very childlike way. He does, the Hulk speak, the Hulk smash.
mhm,
Um, red purple pants. He's very childlike. That kind of is. I feel like there's only about 10 years of that
mhm,
out of like 60. In that it takes him ages and ages and ages to settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the early years, he's constantly getting Bruce Banner's intelligence, and then Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Banner's intelligence like slowly fades away. There's a lot of like, brain body dichotomy in that, the Hulk will get Bruce Banner's intelligence. Then, like the very next issue, he'll be going, "Oh, it's strange. It's harder to think now. Is it the amazing power of my muscles that's like making me
Mm.
want to like smash things?" Um, and it's sort of like, so you get on this kind of roller coaster of like the Hulk's intelligence like going up and down. Then you
Mm-hmm.
get this like long period where, yeah, it's just Bruce Banner and then the Hulk, and the changes caused by anger, and then when he calms down, he turns back into Banner, and it's very, except not always. Sometimes he's just a very calm Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
But during all of that time, the Hulk isn't changing, but the supporting cast is all over the place. Betty is married to like Glenn Talbot. Then she's like a bird creature, uh, which was an amazing. That was like a weird journey into the id of like the writers. It's like
That's Roy, isn't it?
oh, it's Steve Englehart who comes up with the
Oh, it's
Harvey.
Steve. Okay, gotcha.
Um, but like that's absolutely wild. Like I think it's the first time you see a gamma mutate that's not.
Green.
There's an obvious degree of super strength there, but it's like no, there's also like laser eyes and giant bird feet, and it's like okay, there's just a whole mishmash of stuff going on. But yeah, that's like the supporting cast of the Hulk meets a subatomic princess and like
Jarella. That is
Gorilla, and it's like and she's like a huge part of the book for like ages, and then just as the supporting cast never comes down. Then the Hulk gets Bruce Banner's intelligence again, and then it sticks. And from then on, it's never the same for a long period. It's always just waiting for the next mutation, for the next like. So I don't think the Hulk is just this incredibly changing character. Whereas you mentioned Spider-Man earlier. I mean, Peter Parker, he's always going to be broke.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he was running a multinational company, he was essentially broke in some sort of like deep down way. Like it doesn't matter how much money he has, he'll always be broke.
See,
Uh,
I think Peter Parker is Charlie Brown.
yeah, yeah,
And I mean that completely sincerely. Lucy is always moving the football. If you're doing the character right, that's
yeah.
in my opinion. Who am I? I'm nobody. But
No, I feel the same way. I don't know if there's like, I mean, Spider-Man's one of these characters who like I don't really want to. I've got maybe half an idea. I don't, try me again in 10 years. Maybe I'll have a Spider-Man idea by then. But like, he's
you're
difficult. He's
you're
the difficult one.
you're too Kirby for that.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's like I almost feel like I could write Captain America
Hmm.
before I could write Spider-Man.
Wow, the Brit can write Captain America before he can
No,
write
no, I feel
Spider-Man. I
like
love it.
Spider-Man is more quintessentially American
Interesting. Well, it's
because
like the
Captain
the Archie Andrews of Spider-Man. Yeah.
Captain America is the idea of America. He's like the dream of America.
Yes.
Spider-Man is an American life as it is lived.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's very insightful. Yeah.
Um, in that, like, Captain America is never going to worry about his health insurance.
Right.
It's not part of his character to like. I mean, there was a point where he was like desperately finding. Okay, there was a point where like Steve Rogers was desperately struggling to pay the bills and was a starving artist. But the thing is, Steve Rogers can put on his Captain America mask, and the world is his oyster.
Yep.
It's like Captain America walks into a hospital with a broken arm.
Yeah.
Nobody is asking how he's paying for that. If
Whereas like
Spider-Man walks into a hospital with a broken arm, the first thing they ask is how he's paying for
it's so true. If they're not hunting him down, trying to
it. Yeah,
arrest him. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.